Hello, I'm Bill Monroe, and welcome to episode 64 of 2-Minute Talk Tips. This week's tip, prepare speaking points. When you are going to be speaking at a less formal type of event, for example, a panel discussion or speaking in front of the press, or if you're going to be doing an interview, it's important for you to identify your talking points in advance. What 2 to 3 points do you want to make? How do you get value from that appearance? Because a lot of times we may just think that those appearances are just for the interviewer or just for the person leading the panel, but you're giving up your time to be a part of that, and there's value for you in attending. And that value is usually in how you are going to engage with the audience. But if you're going to engage with that audience, what do you want to get out of that engagement? What is your goal for that event? Whatever you want to express is key. So before you go into that event, figure out what that is and write it down. You may have 2 or 3 points that you want to make sure that you land in that conversation. Write them down as far in advance as you can, and then review them. And then review them again right before your activity starts, because you want to keep these things in front of mind, because it is so easy to get distracted since you don't necessarily control the broad direction of the conversation. The more prominent these talking points are in your mind when the conversation actually begins, the more likely you are to recall them in the moment. Because ultimately, it's like any other talk that you are going to do. You need to know the outcome and action that you want, and you need to figure out how to get there. Stick around, and after the break, we're going to talk about what to do when you just don't care. Welcome back. Today, I want to talk about something a little bit different, because sometimes we have to speak about a topic that we just don't care about. Most of the time when we're conducting presentations or giving talks, it's about a topic that we like or a topic that we are interested in. It's one we've spent time with. It's one we've developed some expertise on, and that people have sought us out for our expertise and for the value that we can give them with that topic. But we don't always have that luxury. It may be because a client of ours asked us to talk about something different, or maybe our boss insisted we talk about something different. Perhaps one of our colleagues asked us for a favor and asked us to deliver their content for some reason. Or maybe it's a topic that you used to deliver a lot, but you've become bored with it over time, and your expertise and your interest has moved on from that. The point is, you may not always have the luxury of choosing what you want to talk about and being able to talk about your passions. But sometimes that is the reality. So here are 8 tips that can help you be effective when talking about material you're just not interested in. Those tips are: know why you're there. Number 2, know the topic better than your audience. Number 3, don't fake it. Number 4, find something about it that you can connect with. Number 5, know your audience. Number 6, think about why they should care about the topic. Number 7, adjust your metric for success. And number 8, it's not about you. You'll notice that a lot of these tips are fairly familiar. They're based on a lot of the things we already talk about in becoming more effective about things you're presenting on when you are interested in them. A lot of the same things apply when you just don't care about the topic, but still need to be effective. So let's talk about those in a little bit more detail. First, consider why you're there. And there are a lot of reasons why you could be in a situation where you're presenting on a topic that you are not the expert on. I talked about a few examples of that in the introduction here, but I want to talk about it from a different perspective now. Now it's less about why you might have to do this and more of the why were you chosen to do this when you're not interested in the topic. Are you a subject matter expert in it? There are lots of things that we can acquire expertise in that we're really just not interested in. And maybe that's simply by virtue of the amount of time we've been involved with a project or a subject matter. Maybe we witnessed something and we were the only ones. Maybe we've been the first ones to attend a specific training session. There can be all sorts of reasons why we might be an expert in something we did not seek to become an expert in. But still, we may be the expert, and therefore we have been chosen to present that topic. It could also be because it was one of our close colleagues who was supposed to speak on that topic, and maybe they got sick, or they left their role, or some scandal happened and they're no longer the appropriate person to present. But by virtue of being adjacent to their professional work, we may be more familiar with it and asked to step in. And even if it's not because we're familiar with their work, but because we happen to share a unique skill set for getting up in front of a room and talking to a whole bunch of people about something. There are lots of reasons why we may be the individuals chosen to speak on that topic. And understanding that backstory will help us better understand how we can approach that topic when we get to speak. Number 2 is to know the topic better than most of your audience. It's been said that in order to appear to be a genius in front of a group of people, you really need to only know about 5% more than they do. And as your topic gets more niche and gets narrower, that becomes easier to do. You see, in order to know your topic better than your audience, you've just got to know the details on that very small aspect of the overall field that they're in. The deeper you go on a specialty, the more you are going to know about it relative to other folks who are adjacent to that specialty. So you can get yourself up to speed pretty quickly by going narrow, by not going super broad. You see, here's the thing. You likely already know more than your audience about this topic once you've reviewed the initial content. Because if they knew everything about this topic already, they probably wouldn't be coming to the presentation. There's a reason this presentation is happening. There is a reason this event is happening, and there is a reason that you are going to have to speak with them about it. That gives you that built-in advantage. Number 3 is don't fake it. Look, even as you learn this topic and learn the details of this topic, there's still going to be a lot about the broader field that you don't know. Don't pretend to be an expert in everything that's going on, because if you do, you're going to get found out. You're going to appear less confident. You're going to get tripped up on a question. It's perfectly acceptable when somebody asks you a question that is not directly about your content, or actually even if it is directly about your content, to say, that's a good question. I don't know, but I will find out. The thing is, when you're not worried about faking it, it's a lot easier to be more confident. The main way to become more nervous about a topic is to try and fake it and be worried about being found out. If you're not trying to fake it, you don't have to worry about being caught. Number 4 is find something in that topic that you can connect with. You may be adjacent to this topic. You probably already have some connection with this topic. And that's why you were chosen to speak. And there's got to be something in there where even if you don't care about all of it and don't care about the main point of it, there's got to be some aspect of it that is at least a little bit interesting to you. Maybe it has to do with how you can use this information to help folks. Maybe it has to do with how your audience can use this one aspect to help their clients and their constituents. Regardless of what it is, as you learn more about it, as you dive deeper into this topic, there's got to be something in there that you can go, that's kind of interesting, or that's kind of neat. Latch onto that stuff and figure out maybe how you can grow that aspect of the material to take up a larger percentage of this topic that you in general don't care about. But the more you learn about this one specific area and the more interested you become in this very specific part of it, the easier it is to have that much more energy and interest in conducting your presentation overall. Number 5 is to know your audience. If you're going to be speaking to an audience about this topic, figure out, why do they care about it? Just because you don't care about it doesn't mean no one cares. They may have very specific interests that are different from yours, but those very specific interests are why they are going to be in that room with you. Understand what those interests are and figure out how you can leverage their interests. How can you lean into that? What are they interested in? What are their priorities? When they leave that room, how are they going to decide whether or not they got value from that presentation? Try to figure out what that is by talking with a few members of the audience before you present, or by talking with other folks who have experience in working with these audiences, or by looking at social media from this audience. What do they tweet about? What gets talked about in this field? Understand those priorities will help you understand how you can present this material in a way that is interesting to them. Number 6 is related to that. Why should they care about this topic? Go ahead and write out why your audience should care about this topic, even if you don't. How can you meet their needs? How can you meet their priorities? And don't be afraid to say in your presentation, this is why you should care. Number 7, adjust your metrics for success. When we talk about something we are very interested in, we will measure our success based on things like the enthusiasm of that audience. Maybe we look at how many new subscribers we get to our Twitter feeds. Maybe we look at how people respond to us after the session. If it's a topic you don't care about, you need to rethink how you know if you've been successful. And again, you want to focus on, did the audience get value? Did the audience find interest in that topic that you talked about? That's where you need to focus on things. The other thing is that you may not be as energetic. You may not be as enthusiastic when you present. And you know what? That's okay. But if you find that after your normal presentations, your audience is very effusive and very congratulatory and very impressed with how you in particular spoke, when you're speaking about something you don't care about, keep in mind that you may not get those reactions and be prepared for it in advance. Finally, number 8, it's not about you. It's not about what you care about all the time. It's not about your priorities in and of themselves. It's about the message and the audience. Did the audience get value from your presentation? That's awesome. How can you make sure they get more value? How can you define your calls to action in a way that your audience will respond and that you will have the impact that you need to have to be an effective representative of your organization or your colleague or your client or whoever it was that put you up there? Because ultimately, it's not about you. It's about the results that you get with that audience. So that's those core 8 tips, those core 8 strategies for speaking about things you are not interested in. 1, understand why you're there. 2, know the topic better than most of your audience. 3, don't fake it. 4, find something in the topic that you can connect with. 5, know your audience. 6, understand why the audience should care about your topic. 7, adjust your metrics for success. And 8, remember that it's not about you. There are plenty of times we may be asked to deliver content that we are just not interested in. And it's important for us to still be able to effectively do that. Just because you're not interested or don't care, you don't always have the option of not presenting. Ask yourself, can I deliver this message with my integrity and ethics intact? If so, go ahead and do it. If you can't do it without violating your integrity and your ethics, then it's probably time to look for a different role or a different organization. As a bonus tip here, one of the things I find is especially helpful is in looking at all of these different strategies, what I can see is that regardless of what's on my slides, one of the things I am most interested in and most excited about is having an impact on my audience and being able to effectively convey a message to my audience. And so when I find myself in a situation where I have to present a material that really is just not that personally interesting to me, I can get interested and enthusiastic about helping the audience be more effective at what they ultimately want to do. Sure, it gets kind of meta, but it gets the job done. So how do you handle it when you have to talk about stuff you're not interested in? Go ahead and let us know in the comments over at 2minutetalktips.com/don'tcare. Have you subscribed to 2 Minute Talk Tips in your favorite podcast app? If not, now is a great time to go ahead and do so. And do you think this information will be helpful to any of your friends or colleagues? Please go ahead and share this episode with them and let them know that they can subscribe in their podcast apps as well. And of course, as always, don't get best, get better. Thanks a lot. I'm Bill Monroe, and I'll talk to you next week.
Two-Minute Talk Tips is a proud production of the Currently Speaking Podcast Network.